Welcome everyone. This is the EA Global Summit 2020. This is day 4 of this virtual conference. We've been connecting global EA practitioners. We've had a great response in the last 3 days with several interesting presentations and a number of conversations happening in our team channel. So this is Nizam from the organizing team, and with us we have Alberto, the Chief Digital Officer, and Farouk Abbas, the Digital Strategy and Governance Specialist at the DG office from the GPSSA. And here we are going, so the speakers will be presenting on how GPSSA transformed from an analog enterprise to a cognitive enterprise, a complete architecture-driven digital transformation journey. So this is a case study based on a real project that Alberto and Farouk has led at GPSSA, and this is going to be incredibly useful with a lot of insights for us. So we look forward to this presentation, and thanks Farouk and Alberto for joining us and willing to do this presentation. Over to you now.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Nizam, for your invite to this EA Global Summit, Sparx. We want to present what we are doing on digital transformation and how we are leveraging enterprise architected approach and methodologies as well as tools. Okay, as the title is clear, architect-driven transformation. Okay, we are moving from analog to cognitive enterprise. Moving on, this is the contents of the presentation. So we will briefly introduce GPSSA, and we will talk about enterprise architecture, customer experience, information management, ecosystem integration, and purely the pension administration platform, which is our core platform. Okay. So briefly, we are based in UAE, United Arab Emirates, and we are a federal entity, general pensions and social security. So we deal with security and pensions for all Emiratis. We have a population of 9.8 million of inhabitants, and our time zone is GMT +4. I think everyone knows it's more known Dubai than Abu Dhabi, but Abu Dhabi is the capital of the United Arab Emirates. Moving on. Just some snapshots of Abu Dhabi, some big numbers. I leave it this for your entertainment, and we will jump into the meat. So what's GPSSA? GPSSA, as I said, is a General Pensions and Social Security Authority. So we deal with Emirati pensioners, and we are also starting to deal with whatever is related to Social Security. It's chaired by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and Deputy Ruler of Dubai and Minister of Finance. So this entity belongs to the Minister of Finance. So, as I said, we are under our scope is exclusively Emirati pensioners, but the pension model will change in the future. We are seeing some changes in the laws, and probably it will expand to other, not only other markets, but also to private pensions. So GPSSA has embarked to this digital ambitious transformation program. We had a legacy infrastructure, legacy services, a different way of doing things, and we have moved forward into a completely new revamped digital platform, a new way of doing services and playing with ecosystem. We will see this later on. Data-driven architecture and putting the customer in the middle of the experience. Okay. In order to do this, we have set up a digital center of excellence, which is working separately to what GPSSA is doing as business as usual. How we have done this, and we established our vision, which was becoming a world-class innovative customer-centric pension provider. And the way we have structured the strategy is based on what we call the pillars. Okay, so it's putting the customer, the citizen, in the center of everything, center of the design, center of services. Of course, as a social security and pension, it's public. We are funded by the contributions of the insurers, and we have to pay our pensions. So we have to be financial optimized. So the cost to serve is something we are really looking at. Okay, how to optimize the cost, how we will improve the services to making the sustainable and cost efficient. Yes. For that, we are using state-of-the-art technology. Okay, we are introducing, as I said, is a completely evolution of the platform, introducing microservices, cloud ready, introducing open source technology, focusing again on the customer experience, but also creating a strong integration. So in order to do that, we have defined what we call the core enablers, which is the pension administration, which is purely our core pension application, where our processes and services are defined. It's based on fully automation, straight-through processing. So we have defined out, not re-engineer our service, we have completely refined our services based on our new approach. But it's also about data and information. So it's a data-driven platform. We have always using what we call a triangle of data, rules, and events. So it's all about a combination of variations of the data, of the rules, or the events. And this is triggering some processes behind on the background and launching services. So the system is proactive, so it has some sort of intelligence, and it's always prepare for what is next. Okay, so we are trying to anticipate what is the need of the customer always. But as I said, customer experience is one of the strong pillars. We will explain later what we have done in terms of customer experience and how we have modeled this into the system. But definitely, we are not an isolated entity. We have to live in an ecosystem, and this ecosystem has to be fully integrated. We are dealing with a lot of federal and local entities, so integration becomes a key point in our strategy, and of course has to be strong and reliable and trusted. And finally, as I said, data-driven. Data for us is the starting point of this digital transformation. What we have seen in the past is a lot of transformations are starting from the channels and then going downstream. We took a different approach in our case. We started with the data. We completely established a stream based on data, to clean data, to structure data, to govern that data, understand where data was coming from, all the data feeds, and then how was this impacting the services. So we went down from data up to the services and to the customer experience. Even on the customer experience, we we analyzed all the data that was exchanged. So this was key and fundamental to understand what was the ecosystem, how the ecosystem was providing this data, and how the ecosystem was helping us to simplify our processes. Okay, moving on. So how we did this? Okay, we had a strong vision. We have the pillars. So the next thing was modeling, and we have a strong background in enterprise architecture. For us, it was very important to have a proper model, an architecture model which was not only on the technology but also on the capabilities. Everything was related. So we tried, and that's why we use Sparx to support all these transition from the analog to the digital. We created a EA meta model, so we could connect all the dots. Okay, and then of course we had different views coming from services down to infrastructure, from infrastructure upstream to services. We included some cost elements, so we are able to measure the cost to serve. We have unitary cost. Of course, the service levels, the KPIs. So everything was completely connected. Everything was completely documented through the tool, and it helped us to start working on different scenarios. Okay, those scenarios were, as we can see in the picture, moving from analog to towards digital and to our target state, which is the cognitive. So Analogue was the current platform is basically, we call it analog in terms of technology, but also on the processes. Okay, processes are heavily manual processes, so we had to revamp all of this, and our approach was going for a completely greenfield platform. This greenfield platform was the starting point, as I said, was data, but we moved as well on customer experience. We did a proper customer experience exercise, which was completely platform agnostic. Excuse me, which was completely platform agnostic. We will see later on how we did this modeling of the moments of life of the customer and how those moments were related to the ecosystem. We did an MDM project, so setting up the proper data governance on the data and data management, modeling as well, and all of this was feeds into the EA meta model. So we had the customer experience, the user stories, the personas feeding the meta model, but on the other side we also had the data feeding as well the data model as well. And we had to select up a new pensions platform, a core platform. We defined a completely new architecture, as I said, cloud ready, introducing microservices, completely decoupled, using APIs, north to south, east to west, changing the conventional approach of enterprise service bus into this API connectivity, and open to the ecosystem as well. But also we had to change the business model. Okay, we introduced we work on what we call the digital target operating model, which was reflecting all the changes on the organization, but all the changes in the new way of doing things, introducing analytics capabilities, roles in terms of analyzing the data and trying to provide a continuous improvement on our processes and services. But digital was the middle stage of the transition. Okay, as I said, omni-channel, frictionless integration and transform business services. But we were moving as well. The concept of GPSSA is evolving. It's adding new components and new services, social well-being, financial advisory. So those components should be easily plugged into the platform and enabled additional and aggregated services for our customer. So we are not stopping in this digital step. We are moving forward to what is the cognitive, so data, information, insights. Okay, so it's providing by using artificial intelligence across all the services, across all the processes, to provide an additional step, okay, on the technology, and an additional step on the services. And this is what we call the cognitive. So the system has a sort of intelligence, not only to analyze what has passed on the past, but also to predict what is coming. So we are always one step or two steps ahead, which is good, because to some extent it's like advancing what the customer is going to request to you. And if we are able to get this insight and provide that through our channels, definitely is gonna simplify our impact, our operations, okay? Because we will have the data, we can provide that data and those services to our customer, and the customer will, you know, simply trigger the service. So on our side, things will get simplified. Okay, we move. So all of these, all this journey is what we call the transition architecture. All of this is modeled through the meta model. And this is one of the uses of the Sparx application. We have also the ProLab, the portal. So we will be providing our stakeholders, and this is the beauty of the solution. Completely overview and oversight of what's going on, what's happening, what's coming, and what is left, including not only process documentation or KPIs that will be coming directly from the platform, but also the cost to serve, issues, tickets, even we can reach to the point to connect requirements to tickets, to requirements to services, whatever connected view. Okay. As I explained before on the customer experience, we tried to take some distance. Okay. So we decided not to have go for a customer experience exercise which was completely technology agnostic. So no relation with the platform. So the blue sky thinking, and we went typical customer experience and getting analyzing the different personas, which was in the context of GPSSA, and trying to analyze those moments in life. Moments in life, again, it's about modeling. I think, and I want to emphasize this: if you are able to model your business, then you are able to understand your business. Okay. So we did the same with moments in life. Moments in life, according to those personas, different situations across the lifespan of our customers. I think about that we are covering since born to death. Okay, all lifespan. So we started with these life moments and try to understand what was the experience of these of our customers, and what was the interaction of our customers with ecosystem. Okay, ecosystem of GPSSA is as I said, it's federal and local entities, but also private entities. Some of them are already in our ecosystem, some of them are not in our ecosystem. So we also analyzed what type of data was going to be exchanged in those moments in life. Again, going downstream to data, okay, and analyzing and starting from the data and going all the way up. I think that's it's a differential factor on the architecture of our solution and how we architected the solution and how we architected the services. So you can see here just birth, graduation, employment. All of these moments in life requires engagement with some of the entities in our ecosystem, exchange of data. In some cases, we are part of the process or middlemen in the process. Some of them, we are just the last mile of the process. So, okay, move. And as a result of this exercise, we created a new service catalog. Okay, this service catalog was improving services on the current service portfolio, but was also adding additional services. Okay, based on the beauty and the capabilities of the platform. And also the platform was able to provide new services in terms of well-being. Even it will be able to provide additional services on financial services, but also aggregate those services and treat those services in a unique way. So we always have the customer in the middle. Okay. Okay. I hand over to Farouk for information management.
I thank you, Alberto and Nizam, for the introduction. I think Alberto has covered most of the areas. I just wanted to go a little bit on the information management as well as the ecosystem integration. So when it comes to data architecture, we wanted to define the principle for our whole architecture domain. So for the data, we have come up with 6 major principles or 5 major principles. The sixth one is completely related to the implementation. So first thing is the owner of the data needs to be defined. So that is a primarily important principle. Second one is we need to properly, describe the data. So the consistency between various system and consistency of the terminology across the organization needs to be defined. And then the third important principle is quality. We wanted to have a sufficient quality for the data what we hold. And the fourth principle is related to the access. We wanted to provide the legitimate, provide the access to the legitimate parties. Then the fifth one is related to the interoperability and integration. This is where we come up with the open data and data API and all other related functionality. So the last one what we have is how to achieve the core principles what we have defined as part of the data management. So we have identified a lot of various capabilities which needs to be established as part of this information management. So which is like metadata management, reference data, and data warehouse, analytics, and master data. All those information is described in the implement state. Then the next important aspect as part of the data architecture, what we did is we wanted to identify the domains which is involved as part of the architecture. So there are many domains here. I may not take much time to go through the entire domain. I just wanted to give you some example. If you take the data quality domain, we wanted to, as Alberto said, data is our, the core. We wanted to decouple the entire data spectrum from other layers of EA, so that we can, it's like Alberto always says, data is our luggage. We just need to carry that. It should be completely decoupled with other entities, other layers of architecture. So the main objective is we wanted to have a quality data. So we started implementing the master data to get the masters cleaned and deduped and get the right quality data. That is one of our domain. Then if you look at the catalog, which we were discussed already, so if you look at our principle, one of the that described is as a second principle. We wanted to have proper description of the data which is achieved by the catalog. So in the right hand side, if you look at that, we have mapped the principle versus the domain, which is to get more understanding of how our principle is aligned with the domain. Then the next most important thing is Alberto has touched upon on many of his information. The connected view. Connected view is very important for any organization. If you look at an organization, the business strategy is implemented by offering a business service, which is one second. Which are delivered through business processes. Okay, then which is our business processes is nothing but the set of activities, right? Those activities are processing some information. So that's where the data comes into place. Okay, those informations automated by some business functionalities, which is again sorry. One second. Automated by business functionality, which is composed of application services. So the application services is a another backbone to provide your business services, which is automating the which is working on the data. So all those things are running on a given platform. So we get the proper connected view from the strategy till the platform. So this is an important thing we wanted to establish. That's why we have used Sparx EA to get the proper connected view across various layers. So how I just wanted to go through the meta model, what we have defined as part of the our engagement with Sparx. This is a meta model. It's a subset of meta model. I'm just showing the business layer, application layer, and information layer. If you look at this diagram, there are 4 objects which is related to the information. One is the business object. This is a high level conceptual information related to your business services. Okay, these objects are accessed or modified by the business processes. Then if you also look at the other object, which is a data object, which is purely related to the logical data object, which is accessed by the application as well as it's associated with the business object. So there is the perfect link between your application data object as well as the business data object. When it comes to information layer, we have the logical data entity as well as the business data entity, which are being or actual data entity. Logical data entities are the actual data entities which are being stored, and business data entities are the subject area diagram. So this is how we get the exact connected view or connection or traceability between service, application, and information as well as the infrastructure. Okay. Then the next important topic, one of the enabler, there were 4 enablers which was specified by Alberto: customer experience, then pension administration platform, then the information management, and the last one is the ecosystem. So I'm going to go through some on the ecosystem. If you look at the ecosystem, we wanted to have GPSA in the middle, GPSA's customer as a middle, and we in UAE we have many government services bus available, which is a Smart Dubai, FedNet, and ADNet, and many government entities are hosting the services on the government services buses. So we wanted to integrate with them to leverage what is existing. Apart from that, we also have other ministries and department which is handling the movements of life of a citizen. So citizen centric ecosystem integration we wanted to build. So what our strategy is to collaborate with government entities and ecosystem for a greater operational efficiency as well as the customer efficiency. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Okay, this is what is the driver for us. The driver is we wanted to provide proactive service offering, which is based on on pension, which is based on life movements as well as the business pension domain. This is one of our driver. And the second important driver is boundaryless data flow. We wanted to have a data flow without boundary, so that we can have a serve our customer in a better way. Then the third one is whatever the information we receive. First thing, we wanted to have a paperless environment. Second thing, we wanted to have an integrated validation, because always there is a competent authority who is providing the information. So if you look at GPSA, we don't generate data much. We maybe whatever we hold, we may generate 5%. The remaining 95% are coming from either the employer or from the ecosystem. So the verification and integrated validation is easily achievable through this integrations. And we also wanted to maintain we wanted to become a single source of truth, or a custodian of the citizen, because we hold their entire life events information and entire their employment history. So we wanted to become a custodian of the citizen, because GPSA is not only responsible for the pension payroll, we are also responsible for the social and financial well-being of the citizens. So the end of the day, one of the strategy from UAE government is to go branchless in 2022, I guess. Yeah, 2022. So we wanted to build a completely integrated ecosystem which can be availed through portal as well as the mobile. We don't want to build another traditional portal. We wanted to have everything through straight through processing. Only the exception should be handled from our part. So the another important thing is approach is we wanted to have a, as I explained, there are two things. One is outside in approach, which is based on the events, whatever is happening between this entities as well as the government services bus. Based on that, we will do actions. Then the other one is inside out approach. From GPSSA, when the data changes based on the timeline or based on the information what the customer provides, we wanted to interact with various entities. So the approach is inside inside out as well as outside in approach. Then this is a high-level integration architecture to integrate with the government service bus. That's a GSP. So we have our APG as our strategic gateway, which will act as a front door for GPSSA, which will communicate with outside entities as well as the government services bus. As Alberto already explained before, we wanted to integrate as much as possible with government as well as other entities to have a straight through process. So again, it's based on the life movements, which is listed in the second left hand side. Then the next one is GPSSA as a provider, which is a pub/sub architecture pattern we have followed. So we will be providing some services which will be accessed by various ministries or departments. So one of the things we have specified as a driver is a single source of truth. So some of the information we are holding information from all the other entities. Why don't we share this information with the other government entity which is in need? So we wanted to become a provider, and we also define canonical model. Canonical model is nothing but the common language across various entities. Currently, the integration, we are building integration with every entities because the canonical, the terminology is different between the different departments. So we wanted to have a proper canonical model so that one service can be availed by multiple entities. So this is GPSSA as a provider. Integration architecture pattern. Then the next one is GPSSA as a subscriber. For some services, we may need to, it may not be available in our government services bus. Maybe it's available in the entity itself. So we wanted to integrate with them. This is a architecture pattern for that particular integration. The last section, I will hand over to Alberto to go through the last enabler, which is the core pension administration platform. Over to you, Alberto.
Thank you, Farouk. Thank you. So how we did this journey, as everything we have done here, and the starting point was an idea, was a set of ideas and a vision established by our Director General. So we took that vision and then we moved forward. And from strategy to delivery, okay, which was including how we will and which platform it was going to support our objectives, okay. So the approach was an architecture driven. I'm saying this, we started with a vision, the strategy, we had to deliver something, okay. So this is a big gap, a big step. So everything we have done is starting from strategy, was defining some principles, a framework that could give us some flexibility to move, to select, to choose, to refine, okay, and finally provide some requirements for constructing the platform and delivery. So it's a very much architect-driven process. As you can see, we started with a vision, and those visions move into something more in detail, okay? Each of those visions and principles and which was creating EA principles in the different layers, in the data and infrastructure, in the security by design, and apply all of those principles to the technical reference model. Of course, trying to achieve some objectives through the KPIs, enterprise architecture KPIs. So that was our Bible, okay? That was really defining our framework, and within that framework, tactically, we could move, okay? And next phase into detail was providing these requirements and doing the proper selection of all the components, through functional components, through non-functional requirements, and then analyze the different options in the market and end up into a proper architecture, to a proper not only physical but also logical architecture with the components in the market fully integrated. Okay, next one, please. So we applied an ADM selection process. We analyze different options in the market. We apply some criteria, screening based on technical capabilities, some due diligence processes, proper due diligence. Then we prepare an RFP, and then we selected our platform. So this was a 4 to 6 months process. We have analyzed different platforms across all the world. I would say more than 60 platforms, from USA, from Australia, from Europe, from Asia, and then we end up in a final platform. Can we move to the next one, please? Which was not as part of the options we have. Was a platform in a box, or create something from scratch, or a hybrid solution. So at the end, we end up in the hybrid solution, which is a combination of a well-established core pension platform, which is downstream, but everything on top, the integration layer, the customer experience layer, through the channels, everything was built from scratch based on our requirements coming from the customer experience. This platform is completely modular, okay? So as I said, you have different components, is plug in and plug out. So it's enabling the business of opportunities to grow, to plug in outsourced services, to even provide managed services to other companies. We can plug in new core components, okay, like social well-being, like a financial advisory, and on top of that, upstream, we can create aggregated services and value services. Always thinking on the customer experience, always thinking on the digital experience, okay, and always thinking on the security, because most of the services, as Farouk was saying, will be fully digital. We are decommissioning all the physical channels, so the interaction through these digital channels are really important for us. But it's also important to have a completely secure platform. Of course, integrating with ecosystem, it's mandatory to have a proper security around, because we are dealing with other federal entities. Data is sensible. We are dealing with health data, educational data, work data, personal data, collecting sensible events like death, marriage, divorce. So data and security around data and the services was important. But what is important and the beauty of this platform is it's completely scalable and extensible. It can support organic and inorganic business growth. Okay. Okay, we move to the next one. And finally, this is a representation of the logical architecture. What is important here is that everything is modeled, and that's why we use a Sparx to feed all these components, everything connected, everything documented. So we have different views. We have And through the portal, we are providing our customer the ability to explore, to dig, not only on the process documentation, but also on the technology that is behind. So, which is enabling, very good collaboration with our business stakeholders. We are, the typical discussions between technology and business are disappearing because business stakeholders are participating with the technology. Now they can see, they can play, they can, they can access, they know what is behind the scenes, and they also understand the complexity of things. And all of this is it's possible because of this meta model, enterprise meta model, and of course having the proper tool, not to work only on the technical side, so feeding all of these documentations and enabling all of these documentations, but also being able to share it with the business stakeholders in a very easy and friendly way, so they can dig, drill down, and play with the diagrams through the portal. So I think that's Nizam, all that we are willing to explain today. I hope it's been a fruitful session.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alberto and Farooq. This was very useful. Like it gave a very clear perspective of how you connected a real world problem and you drove it from start to end. And it's a progressing thing, I can understand. So thank you very much for such a comprehensive presentation. It's incredibly useful.